Hello, everyone. It's Pam Esquire, also known as your law intellect. How is everyone doing today? How is everyone doing? I hope that you're having a fantabulous day. Try to adjust this camera here. Hey, narco detective. You said, Pam, as soon as I appeared on his live and asked to go live with him to talk about the alleged stolen church trustee status and bankruptcy, he blocked me. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today because I think now, after the latest filing that happened today, we know exactly where Whitehead is connected. And it's actually similar to what I assumed, that at some point he was named as one of the trustees on this church. But we'll get into that in a minute. Let me speak to a few people. We'll get right into it. I also wanted to talk about, of course, with Glory of God Ministries, Global Ministries, they had some allegations about how initially they felt that the deed was wrongfully taken from them in the first place. So we're going to discuss that and some of the history of the person, or not even a person, it's an entity that has been accused of the same thing in the past. So we got a few things to get into. Hey, CBBJ, Scorpio Queen, 8 Blessed, Ben Childs, Alice or Elise, Sweet Nectar, Junebug, hey, Alice, Cupcake. Thank you to all my mods that have come on here, Tavia Wims, because they come on and they're here faithful, and I don't never give anybody the heads up, but they're always on the job. Jeff, thank you so much. Good evening. John Doe Blacko. Okay. Hey. Yes, please hit that like on your way in and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And welcome to all my new subscribers. Let us know if you're new to the channel because our mods would like to formally introduce you to our platform. In-depth DP, hey. Amy Jones, hey. Shelly, good to see you. Jackie Johnson, Poetic. All you guys are in the house. Shelly Pender, hey. So I'm going to give a brief recap. I suggest that you go to the prior videos in order to really get up to speed as we've been trying to tackle this case with Bishop Lamor Whitehead in this church, 5904 Foster Avenue, that he currently holds services in on Sunday. So after, just briefly, there was already a church that was having service in that location. And somehow or another, court hearing occurs. Whitehead, according to them, illegally locked them out the premises. The court agreed and said, you got to give them the keys. You have to go through summary proceedings, regardless of whether you are the owner, not the owner, whatever, but ordered that you can't illegally lock somebody out. Told them they can come back in a separate legal matter in order to address triple damages, which usually is allowed in several states when someone doesn't use the courts to evict someone but decides to do it as self-help. When the order came down, Whitehead filed in bankruptcy court, Chapter 11, claiming bankruptcy, adding the church's creditors, adding some people on the deed as creditors, and we've been able to unravel it. We've literally been live figuring it out, trying to figure everything out. I promise you that we will continuously go through it so we can see what's going on. And I think we got to a point where we were kind of close, but this live is going to show how Whitehead is actually connected to all of this. So on today, the trustee, remember we went over the trust of the owner of the premises, and you got to figure out how the 5904 trust even became the owner of the property. Go back to the other videos, but essentially it was a tax foreclosure sale, and that's how they became the owner. And Whitehead filed bankruptcy as the trustee on behalf of the trust. So there's been motions back and forth. We know that a motion was filed by Glory of God, basically saying you're an ineligible debtor because this was a trust. If you read the trust, it was a family trust. It's not a business trust. So it's improper for you to file that under Chapter 11. So hopefully you guys are kind of get a little gist of what's going on. Otherwise, please go see the other videos. So today there was a motion that was filed. This motion was pursuant to 11 USC Section 109D and Section 1019AV, dismissing debtor's Chapter 11 petition on the grounds that the debtor is ineligible to seek relief under Chapter 11, and on the grounds that Lamor Whitehead had no authority to file the Chapter 11 petition. Now, this is, of course, an allegation. The court ultimately rules in an order on it. I'm pretty sure his attorney will respond. And when that response comes in, if it comes in, then we'll actually go over that as well. But for now, this helps us understand better how he got into this. Because remember, we were like, okay, well, we see who the trustee is. So what does he have to do with this? And we made some assumptions. And one of the assumptions I made was maybe he was considered one of the trustees. Well, that was partially true. And it's actually within this document. So let's get right into it, guys. So it has Michael Moses. Remember, that's the trustee of the 5904 Foster Avenue Trust and the beneficiaries of the 5904 Foster Avenue Trust, namely the settler's spouse, the spouse's siblings, and their children and grandchildren, by and through their attorney. And then it has the attorney's name under the rules of the Federal Rules of Bankruptcy Procedure. They're requesting an order dismissing the debtor's petition on the grounds that 5904 Foster Avenue Trust is an ineligible debtor. So that's pretty much the same arguments that Glory of God had that we went over in the last video, and that Lamor Whitehead did not have authority to file the instant petition. So I told you we was going to figure this out one way or another. I didn't know how long it was going to take, but I said we're going to figure this out. So let's get into it. Let me scroll down here. All right. So the background is as follows. On January 24, 2023, debtor commenced the above captioned case under Chapter 11 of the Bankruptcy Code. Debtor 5904 Foster Avenue Trust is a trust instrument created pursuant to an agreement between Lydia Moses, who is the settler, and Michael Moses, who is the trustee. On January 27, 2022, Foster Avenue Trust instrument, Lydia Moses and Michael Moses are siblings. The Foster Avenue Trust instrument is a writing declaration and agreement regarding the creation of the trust, addition of settlers' property to the trust, the beneficiaries of the trust, and regulations and allocations of the settlers' property to the heirs and beneficiaries of the trust. So there's an affirmation of a Lawrence Colock, who is the attorney. The beneficiaries, namely the settler's spouse, the spouse's siblings, and their children and grandchildren, are set forth in Article 6A of the trust instrument. An addendum to the trust granting Lamor Whitehead limited and restricted authority to perform only two functions was executed on March 9th, 2022. Those two functions were: one, to secure financing for him to purchase the real property at 5904 Foster Avenue, and two, to commence and pursue an appropriate legal proceeding in a court of competent jurisdiction, seeking a court order removing the occupants of the property. So it looks like, according to this document, they amended and added, well, they added an addendum to it, adding him as a trustee, but he was only supposed to have two functions. That's to secure financing so that he can buy it, and then also to commence and pursue an appropriate legal proceedings in the court of competent jurisdiction, seeking a court removing. So basically to evict the church from Glory of God Global Ministries. So they go on to say debtor's bare bones petition, which lists 6 creditors, is a violation and abuse of the bankruptcy code, as it is not an eligible debtor. In any event, Lamor Whitehead did not have the authority to file a bankruptcy petition on behalf of the trust. So the debtor is not a business trust. We went through all of that before. These arguments on the debtor is not a business trust are pretty much the same as what we went through in the prior video, which was what Glory of God also claimed as well. So we really don't have to go through that, but they're essentially saying that it's a family trust, not a business trust. It doesn't qualify under Chapter 11. All right. Let's see. So I'm going to skip. So I'm not skipping anything that you guys have not. Literally, it almost looks like they took the same case law that was there before regarding the difference between a business trust and a family trust. So let's scroll down here to Lamor Whitehead did not have authority to commence the instant bankruptcy proceeding. Michael Moses, the trust settlor's brother, has been and continues to be the trustee of the trust since its creation. At the time of the trust acquired 5904 Foster Avenue at a tax foreclosure sale, Mr. Moses signed the necessary real estate transfer documents on behalf of the trust, including the New York City customer registration form for water and sewer billing, the New York State real property transfer report, and the affidavit of smoke detector compliance. Remember, we went over that because I was like, why is this Moses person name on stuff? And he's saying that he's the trustee. It's presumed, even though I don't do this type of work, but just common sense, just seemed like the person who had the authority would on behalf of the trust would be the one signing it. So there's that. They confirmed that that was him who signed all of those documents. So it says, in an effort to sell 5904 Foster Avenue to Lamor Whitehead, Mr. Moses signed an addendum to the trust, which gave Mr. Whitehead limited and restricted authority to engage in only two matters involving the trust and 5904 Foster Avenue. The first was authorization to commence a legal proceeding seeking the lawful removal of the occupants of the property. So you were charged, according to this, with the duty of initiating a summary proceeding so that you can properly evict the people. It was alleged, and those are the pictures that we saw in the prior video, that he illegally locked them out, is what they allege, by changing all the locks and putting the locks on there. That would not constitute a legal proceeding seeking the lawful removal of the occupants, but that's what he was charged with as the additional trustee added in this addendum. The second was to apply for financing to purchase the property. No other authority or power was given to Mr. Whitehead. Nothing contained in either the trust instrument or the addendum thereto even hinted that Mr. Whitehead had the authority to file a bankruptcy petition on behalf of the trust. Quite simply, Mr. Whitehead did not have authority to file the installed bankruptcy petition, and therefore it is respectfully requested that the court enter an order dismissing the debtor's petition with prejudice. Lack of authority to file a bankruptcy petition is grounds for dismissal under 1112 sub B of the Bankruptcy Code. In Ray 167 West 133rd Street Housing Development Court, 2018 case, Westlaw number 4637460. And that's the bankruptcy court in the Southern District of New York. And then in Ray Quad C Funding LLC, you guys see all of those numbers as well. State law governs what authority a person or entity possesses. A trust instrument sets forth a trustee's authority. And then it has the case citing. Even a cursory review of the trust instrument and the addendum clearly indicate that Lamor Whitehead had no authority to file the instant petition, and therefore it must be dismissed. And that's it, guys. You said, isn't it illegal for him to just throw a lock on the door? Yeah, That's why they have treble damages, which is 3 times the damage amount. But it's a lot going on with this property. This all started because obviously he was provided with the task as the limited trustee to do the summary proceedings. Now, I don't even know. See, after, and you guys can help me, when you have a tax sale, doesn't the original person have the ability to, like, isn't there a redemption period? Because it doesn't automate, because it seems like it was finalized in like March. So when he was given this type of authority and he started sending letters to try to tell the people to leave out of the church, don't you have time to redeem it? Because that's about the time that Gloria God found out that they didn't own the property anymore, according to them. And just to refresh your recollection on that incident, they're claiming that they thought they were refinancing the property. They took out a couple of mortgages, and apparently they said the people that YYSB, I think is the initials, trust, they were putting the deed in trust at YYSB. They didn't know, apparently, that they signed the trust over to them. So they were able to do a deed in lieu of foreclosure if, I guess, they miss a payment. So they have a whole separate matter saying that it should have never gotten into a tax foreclosure status because it was illegally, I guess, fraudulently, whatever they're alleging, taken initially. So they have an issue with the inception of how all this stuff happened. So it's very, very muddy. So we've been covering this from the beginning. So if you haven't watched, please go back and watch. Let's see, look at a couple of you said there should be a redemption period. Um, oh my goodness, y'all. See, you got to look at this naturally and spiritually. He has no authority in the natural, even less in the spiritual. Okay, let me look at, you said, look at Macio's question. Let me go back. I get into my reading and stuff, and I just. So Whitehead said on his live, he went live today too. Did you guys see the live he did yesterday? He went off on somebody at the beginning of the live that asked about his wife. I was like, my. Whitehead said on his live today, there's a pastor that lost his church 4 years ago and trying to say he stole it. The courts need to see his posts and videos. Can they bring criminal charges on him for this? Well, when you look at the bankruptcy code, I think any documents you sign, I don't know the specific language, but any document you sign under those type of applications, it does say like you're attesting that it's true to the best of your ability and stuff under the penalties of perjury. So I don't know if they would consider that to be from a criminal aspect. But that's crazy to me, unless he just says he thought he had authority. But I guess ignorance of the law is no excuse because, judges say that all the time as well. So, yes, I have known people that purchase property for taxes, but the owner has a certain time they can read. That's what I thought. So I was thinking that during the time when Whitehead initially was sending out letters, because we saw some letters attached, that it was still maybe in the redemption period. And that's supposed to be when the church tried to intervene in the tax sale because they're like, hey, this was illegally taken from us in the first place. We never had a foreclosure sale. We thought we still owned it. Well, it wasn't really the church, it's 3C Ventures, but the president of 3C Ventures is actually the pastor of the church, or the husband, something with the leadership in the church is actually on the board or the sole member of 3C Ventures. Yeah. So Maceo says, I hope the judge dismisses this before March 1st. I think that's the next court date, but I hope this church doesn't have to wait that long. You said I hear a sound. Oh, goodness. So we figured it out, guys. We have cracked the code. We should be proud of ourselves because I kept saying, I'm like, what does he have? I'm still not getting. And then I said, unless they added him as a trustee. But doesn't it seem like when he made his filings, he would have like submitted that addendum to it, like for, attached to his documents? So why wouldn't you attach that addendum so people could even know how you're connected? Thank you. Thank you. We did it. I'm just saying. It's complicated. You're not going to hear too many people try to sift through this on any other platform. But we did it. So you guys, if you have not if you're just coming in, please, please, please go rewind, make sure you go back. So when we went over the documents to figure out how Whitehead is connected to this property. So now I'm going to refresh your recollection on something else that has to do with this property because I wanted to kind of dive into how the church is saying that the building was somehow taken from them. So I thought that was worth us going into to see if we could try to crack that code as well. So let's go here. Let me refresh your recollection for a few minutes. If you go, this is the original deed for the church. All right, this is the grantor at the time was Clear Realty, right? And they gave this property 5904 Foster Avenue to Triple C Venture. That's the original deed. Now, if you recall, like I said, Triple C's Venture basically says that they tried to mortgage their property and they had to put the deed in a trust. And it was alleged that they missed some payments. And I guess once they missed the payments, the deed automatically transferred to the people that they got the loans from. So this is what they deemed as the invalid deed. So they have the grantor now is Triple C's Venture, and the grantee is YYSB Trust is the ones that took the actual deed. So we're doing a little digging, and I was trying to get information on YYSB because they would be the ones that they are alleging took this deed and didn't have authority to take this deed. So y'all make sure you hit the like. I'm giving you guys some good information here. So make sure you hit that like, subscribe, let everybody know that we're on right now if you haven't done so already. So let's get into this portion of our live. So I was looking and there was an article that came out last year in or around, what's the date on here, guys? It's called, the title of it is In City Right for Deed Theft, Lawyer Pitches Protection Service. And this was written April 4th of 2022. So let's go over this article because it has some very interesting information in this article. And thank you to the person that sent it to me. As Brooklyn's housing market has surged, so have reports of deed theft. Duplicitous buyers looking to cash in on appreciating prices typically target Black and elderly homeowners. The city has struggled to stop it from 2014 to 2020. Some 3,152 complaints of deed theft, according to the Department of Finance. The city referred just 110 cases to prosecutors, resulting in a mere 48 arrests. Real estate attorney Toby Cohen is trying another approach. He has launched a service that protects owners against fraudulent transfers and offers legal recourse to victims. One obstacle to preventing deed theft is most owners don't realize what happened until it's too late. Often, homeowners facing foreclosure will believe they are refinancing when they unwittingly sign over their home. Not until they try to settle utility bills or liens do they realize the home has a new owner. By then, it has already been sold to second or third buyers. Those transfers, Cohen said, make deed theft hard to unwind. And the reason for that is because, say, for instance, I take CBBJ's, I take her property, I somehow swindle her out of a deed. If she turns around and hurries up and sells it to Jeff, then he's a bona fide purchaser. So it's hard to get back to the property because you still may lose your property, because as long as he didn't have anything to do with that fraud, you're still considered a bona fide purchaser. So in 2015, Cohen represented Ronaldo Suriel, who was facing foreclosure after falling behind on mortgage payments. Suriel was introduced to Gene Millian, the principal of American Foreclosure Network Systems, who allegedly told the Brooklyn homeowner if he transferred his title to AFNS, Millian would work with the bank to reduce or cancel Suriel's mortgage, court documents show. In 2012, Suriel signed over the deed to Millian, who then sold the property to Yitzhak Tyner of YYSB Trust. Suriel claims he never heard from Millian again about the help he promised. Had Millian kept the deed, Cohen could have sued him for theft, but once Tyner's entity acquired the property, Tyner became a bona fide purchaser and his ownership is protected unless there's evidence that he knew about the previous fraud. That's what I was just saying. For that reason, secondary transfers are common in deed theft, said Adam Birnbaum, a lawyer at Abrams Feinsterman. Birnbaum is representing Ida Robinson in an alleged deed theft case where her house was sold twice after she unknowingly transferred it. Quote, I tried to come up with a way to keep the secondary buyer on the hook, end quote, Cohen said. So then it goes on to say what this service that this lawyer is trying to give to prevent some of the theft. I might as well say that. It might help somebody if you're trying to buy properties, especially in that area. So I'm in the business of trying to help you as well. So let's just read the type of services this attorney has. The attorney's service, TER0, offers third-party authorization on deed transfers. The homeowner pays a one-time fee, and TER0 requires the owner to approve any property transfers online, which shows up on the chain of title. If the homeowner does not okay a sale and it happens anyway, which is possible because outdated systems allow anyone to record documents if they are signed, dated, and notarized, TER0 will show that the authorization is still pending. Once the sale is recorded, the rightful owner must prove it was fraudulent. The lack of authorization from TER0 is evidence of that. A secondary buyer would now see this on the title and could not plausibly claim ignorance of the initial fraud. Because remember, it becomes a bona fide purchase as long as you don't know anything about what's going on. So if Suriel had TER0, Cohen said, I would have been able to say to YYSB, you are not a bona fide purchaser. You should have known something was up. Ultimately, Suriel's lawsuit was dismissed and he lost his home. One shortcoming of TER0 is that the owners vulnerable to deed theft are unlikely to know about services to prevent it. Fraudsters often get to delinquent homeowners first until the government begins systematically warning owners who are behind on their mortgage payments. The first knock on the door is likely to be a deed thief. Still, the service builds an effort by the city, state, most of which have concentrated on spreading awareness. 2 years ago, Attorney General Letitia James, she on her stuff over there in New York. She trying to hem up everybody. launched a one-day door-knocking drive to educate homeowners in Bed-Stuy, Prospect, Lefferts Garden, and Flatbush about deed theft. James also created a task force and dedicated an office to fielding complaints. The city advises owners to sign up for an alert system that notifies them if the city register detects legal changes in a property's ownership, but most potential victims have not signed up, and those who have would likely find out too late about a property transfer. The city council did introduce two bills in 2020 to crack down on deed theft, but both would strengthen existing protections, not added tools for enforcement. One bill will require the sheriff's office to annually report details of complaints and investigations related to deed fraud. Another would compel the city to educate homeowners notified of property transfer on how to file complaints. So, thank you for the cash app. I appreciate it, Laversa Moore. Always looking out for your girl over here. So yeah, so apparently YYSB was involved in this. But let's look at YYSB because I was looking them up on Acres, and because I was trying to figure out which property they were talking about. So let's see. They transferring stuff to themselves. Let me start at the bottom. So these are the details. So this is the American Foreclosure TYC Realty. And this is the article. This is the one they were talking about in the article where they transferred it to YYSB and Tyner. So this was the first party that got it, right? And YYSB became the second party. So this would have been the person that directly took it, or these two people directly took it from, allegedly, from that owner who eventually lost his home because he was trying to refinance. Now, what is different though, let me see some more here. Thank you, St. James. I appreciate it. Now, YYSB, that same property from that article, they transferred it to Israel Grossman. Remember, Grossman is a part of the YYSB in this current case. It's very interesting when you kind of look at some of these deed transfers. And then YYSB transferred this the same thing back to YYSB. So yeah, what I think is different in this case, perhaps, I think what's different in this case, it sounds like 3C's Ventures transferred it to YYSB, who still in theory owns it, but for that tax sale. So the tax sale would be in the as a second party if they include the tax sale. Now, if the tax sale is still in the redemption period, or sometime for somewhere there's a hold on the property and they don't really own it, then really there's still that direct connection between YYSB being the one to take it, which would be different than what happened to the other guy. Because thank you, Shelly, so much for the cash app, which would be different from the other guy because his was just he was kind of hit because it got transferred to a second party like we just saw. But then I also noticed too, Whitehead has, he was married before, and there was also information on here regarding a property that she owned. Let me see. And what was interesting is on her deed, she did a notice of revocation of power of attorney and put, please take notice that, and she put her name, do hereby revoke any and all authority ever granted to Lamor Whitehead or any other parties as my attorney, in fact, healthcare proxy for fiduciary in any capacity. And she revoked the power of attorney. I thought that was interesting. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And G says I think those in Adam's circle felt empowered when he got in office, whether they receive assurance. But see, somebody told me something similar to how this transaction occurred, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't want to say that until I seen. So this motion that was filed kind of solidified actually what I was told on how he ended up getting this property. That it was that he was supposed to be the person to evict them. So like I said, someone did tell me that, but because I really didn't have any real proof of that. So Whitehead also filed an affidavit as well. You might as well go through that while we're at it. He filed an affidavit with the court where he was saying that he's the trustee of 5904 Foster. This was filed though. What's the date on this? This was filed on February 8th. So that was filed yesterday. And then Moses filed that motion that we talked about at the beginning of the live. He filed it earlier today. So he said he does an affidavit and swears under the penalty of perjury that the following statements are true and correct. So he says debtor is not a small business within the meaning of bankruptcy code section 1015D. Debtor is a single asset real estate debtor within the meaning of bankruptcy code section 101. Debtor owns and manages real estate located at 5904 Foster Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. BT Trust claims a debt. So Moses and BT Trust, I heard were supposed to be like one and the same, I guess. So I guess you can use BT Trust or use Moses. BT Trust claims a debt, but that's alleged because I don't have the documents on that and I didn't look it up. Somebody just told me that. So BT Trust claims a debt of $3,260,000 against debtor. That BT Trust claims was due in full on February 1st, 2023, which debtor, I guess, disputes and is not prepared to pay in full now. Further, a purported entity, Glory of God Global Ministries, which is not registered or with authority to do business in the state of New York, claims a possessory interest in debtors located 5904 Foster Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, and was able to get an order of possession on January 24, 2023 against debtor to be restored possession to debtor's property located at 5904 Foster Avenue, despite the fact that Glory of God Inc. was not in possession of the debtor's real property, and Glory of God Global Ministry Inc. does not have a lease or a license to be a tenant at 5904 Foster, New York, blah, blah, blah. Debtor filed a Chapter 11 voluntary petition to legally reorganize his debts. The case was not, okay. So that's it. He did some affidavit. I guess maybe that was something the court asked. I don't really know the purpose of it, but it does, in fact, show like how much, I guess that he was supposed to purchase the building for. So yeah. Let me read some of your comments. So yeah. If you guys have not watched us from the beginning, we have finally connected Whitehead to this property. So I need you guys to make sure that you go back from the beginning. If you have not and you're just joining, thank you for the cash app, Marcella Nixon. I appreciate it. But yeah, so we talked about YYSB and how, someone else has accused him of the same thing that pretty much 3C Ventures has accused him of, essentially. Well, they did say that in the documents. We also have been able to connect that apparently there was an addendum to the trust which added Lamor Whitehead, but it was for restricted purposes as a petitioner. And we also have looked up on Acres YYSB, and we were able to look at the different deeds that were a part of the article so that we can make sure we connect them with documents and not just go for what's in the article. Because it's public record, so we might as well look it up instead of rely on the documents. On the article. So let me go through here a little bit. So the church has been in there since before the initial deed transfer and had no idea what was going on until the lock popped open the door. What they're alleging and what they are alleging is that they got mortgages taken out on the property. The deed was supposed to be in trust, but it wasn't supposed to be a transfer. They are saying they allegedly didn't pay. So I think there's a dispute on whether they actually defaulted. And YYSB transferred the deed to themselves after that, and deed in lieu of foreclosure. So I'm wondering how that went, where when they signed the mortgages, did they automatically sign it over and they was just holding off and waiting? Or in any documents, does it say that if you default on this loan anytime, then you forfeit the whole foreclosure process and it's automatically our property? I don't know that information, but that's what their allegation is. But as you see from the article, there apparently was at least one other person who has but I don't think they're not really alleging that YYSB did. They were just involved in it. So another entity took the property and refinanced, and I guess they sold it to YYSB. So they were more of a second party. In this instant, they were a direct connection to the property owner, which would have been 3C Ventures. Yeah. Yes. And then I'll bet they paid and the payments were pocketed but not applied to you know what? And then, well, no, because in theory, that means 3C Ventures was renting it out to Glory of God. So really, Glory of God would have been paying 3C Ventures, but it seems like, right. So were two people paying the mortgages at the same time? Because if you're still saying that you own the property, so it should be be receipts that you were paying the mortgage, 3C Ventures was paying it, and then somebody else was paying it at the same time. I don't know, but they tried to intervene, and we went over those documents as well. A lot of stuff did make sense because we were kind of just going over it as we were getting it, and we couldn't put it all together. We were trying to figure it out. We were being Inspector Gadget over here, being the supreme intellects trying to figure out and wade through the water, because it's three different cases. You had a foreclosure case from the tax foreclosure. That's how Whitehead even got involved. And then you have YSB. You have the foreclosure, you have the summary proceeding, and then you have his bankruptcy. But what's interesting to me is this. If you guys recall, let me see if I can find this document right quick. If you guys recall, the court actually opined that YSB was the owner of the property still. They didn't say 5904 was the owner in September, which kind of seems like it's still a direct connection for 3C Ventures to challenge how they acquired that deed. That's free game for y'all, Gloria God, just in case. Let me see. I gotta look at these documents because so many of them. Motion to dismiss. Let's see if this is it. Nope. I'm trying to find where the courts actually came to the conclusion. Let's see. They actually came to the conclusion that this affidavit. Yeah, I think this is it. Okay, yeah, this is the order. Let me see. Close that, please. Um, so it has, remember, there was a The trust went against YYSB in the actual foreclosure process about the eviction. And the court, this was about a show cause, right? This was back in, what's the date on this? Started in 2018. When is this song? September 26th of 2022. So the court basically opined. They didn't say Triple C Venture owned it, but they did say, according to the document submitted in this action, the current owner of the property is YYSB Trust. Triple C's Venture previous attempt to intervene as purported owner was denied. So as of September 6th of 2022, this court right here was saying that YYSB was actually the owner, which would mean that everything didn't transfer yet as it pertained to the the tax foreclosure, which is the 5904 trust. So it seems like there's still a direct connection for Triple C Ventures to go ahead and file whatever they're trying to file against them. If this order is basically saying that YYSB is still the order, because that's still the first direct link to who took their deed. So, was the church paying the mortgage money to YYSB? This is a mess. No, I don't think they were. And the reason why is there was a lawsuit that was filed in 2018 by YYSB against Glory of God, but they were never served. Why they filed it, I don't know, but they were alleging in that document that they were in their property and they wanted them gone. But literally they filed it and didn't do anything with it in 2018. So it seems they were just allowing them, and they were making it seem like they were trying to get appraisals and all of that, and they weren't letting them in. It's a mess. But they never served them. So they never formally was able to evict them, even when they filed for summary proceedings back in 2018. So I'm assuming maybe they had a conversation and they wanted, hey, yeah, you can buy this building from us and take it off our hands, but you're going to have to also get these people up out of here. And so that was what his job was, to get them up out of here, I guess. And so he did the changing of the locks that we saw the pictures to. Thank you so much, Shamika Anderson, for the that's Cupcake. I done said your whole government name. I am so sorry. I was just reading. For the Cash App. I'm not trying to put your whole government name out there. Okay, you said, I wonder who the people are behind YYSB and Triple C. It's all the same people. Like, when you really look at the links, the Moses is always somehow a part, the Grossmans are a part. It's the same names that keep coming up. It's like all these different transfers that are all in trust. But this is, I guess, what rich people do. Because I was talking to my brother who does real estate, and he was like, when you own up those type of properties, oftentimes you put them in trust, because you don't have to list who the trustee is. And he owns properties, and oftentimes he'll be the one to collect money, but he doesn't even let them know that he owns the properties, because sometimes you just don't want them to know, I guess, who the actual owner is. You just kind of represent yourself as the property manager. So when you put it in trust, that's a way, I guess, that you can avoid people knowing. Like we saw on there, remember when we listed on Acres and we put up the address and it didn't say who the trustee was, which is why we were confused. And then when I saw Moses signing everything, I'm like, so Moses is signing everything. Then I said, well, I do recall law school, you can have more than one trustee. So maybe there was an addendum somehow to it and he was added on there. I did throw that out there on one of those lives as a possibility. And apparently that's what it was. Sorry, Cupcake. My bad. I told you he was there to put them out. You probably did tell me. I had a couple of people tell me that. I was like, but we have to look at the documents. We have to look and see. But that's what Moses is alleging in his motion, is that was what one of his jobs was as the trustee. Sorry. I think I did that to I did that to somebody else too. I was like, oh, sorry. Yes. And I just read. I'm just so grateful for the Cash Apps. I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to do better. I'm gonna try to do better, and I'm gonna read it first instead of glance over there. and make sure I'm not giving anybody's whole government name out. Lamar said tonight the property belongs to him since 2018. Did he now? Well, I just showed you the deeds. And no, that's not what those deeds said. And that's not what the filing said. The filing said as of early last year, they made him a restricted trustee on the property. In 2018, it was YYSB that was allegedly the owner, of which 3C Ventures is contesting. Yes, please. You heard Poetic Mouth. Okay, so you said, I wonder who the people are behind. Oh, I reread that. Sorry. And that's a good question. If he had the property since 2018, what was he in the event space having church? Or why was he in the event space having church? All right. Any more questions? Any more questions? You got your hand up. You have your hand up. You're being very polite. Is there something that you want to ask? Uh-huh. Is there anything that you want to ask since you politely raised your hand in the chats? He blocked someone for asking about the church in bankruptcy tonight. I bet. I was listening to his live. I didn't even did he save his live? Because the one he did the other night, he actually saved it and he was kind of going in a little bit in the beginning. Somebody asked about his wife. No, he didn't save it. So I guess I missed it. I'm sure somebody screen recorded it and don't send it to me. Shit. So I think we have cracked. So now what we're gonna do is he'll probably reply to what Moses said, and the court is gonna have to rule ultimately. Because on the show cause hearing, I still don't know what really happened in that hearing. I did watch that today. Listen, on the XXX Tentacion case, Triple X, I watched part of it. We were like in the car driving. I was listening to it. I'm just standing there like, that's what I do. I listen to cases and trials or whatever. I like that prosecutor on that case too. And I don't even, me and prosecutors ain't like that. She's a very good prosecutor on that case. But what was interesting today was that the fourth person, the guy, Allen, who is the snitch or turn state's witness, basically he did the least in the whole. Everybody got 15,000. He got 5,000. And they really didn't want to give him anything because he didn't really do much except he walked in and he walked into Riva Motorsports and confirmed that it was Triple X that was in there because it was never an intent to rob him personally. It just so happened that they rented this car and they had a scheme to go rob people. They didn't know what they was going to do. These four men just allegedly sat around and was like, hey, today's a good day to rob people. And so as life would have it, I guess, Triple X goes to the motor place, wants to buy some bikes. It's not the first time. He buys them in cash. We know he got a lot of money. He goes to Bank of America. The mom says, well, you shouldn't go get the bike by yourself with all this cash. So she sends a guy that is like the step uncle to go with him and meet him. She drops him off at the bank to ride with Triple X to go back and get these bikes. He goes to try to get 250K. They like, dude, I know you all special when you a celebrity, but we don't have that on hand. We got to order that. They gave him 50,000, which to me is still a lot. Because I'm like, they just give out $50,000 like that. They try to hold make me wait for 5,000. But they gave him 50,000. He a regular customer. He puts it in a fanny pack like it's $5. He just stuffs it in his fanny pack. Then he gets in the car, and then him and the step uncle drives there. They go in there. The boys, they noticed him. The four guys say they noticed him, according to Allen, who is the state's witness now, he's just getting life. He pled to second-degree murder, so he has a chance of getting out because they're all young guys. The rest of them, if they're convicted, they're gonna go in there for the rest of their life. So he said they pull up and they're like, hey, they said they were gonna get masked so they can rob people, right? So you're gonna get masked so you can rob people, and you're gonna go to Riva Motorsports. I'm like, why you gonna spend all that money to go get a mask? None of that makes sense. Like, y'all ain't got no Dollar Generals. Like, but anyways, they go to Riva Motorsports and they see Triple X in the parking lot, and they're like, hey, that's Triple X. So they start Googling, looking on Instagram so that they can see, like, that's his car out there. So then the two guys that's gonna do the robbing, I ain't even think of their names right now. I should remember. But the two guys that were gonna actually rob stayed in the car, and the other two, which is Allen, who is the turn state's witness, and the other guy, they go inside. They got on flops. I don't know how they was gonna be robbing. Like, you not running nowhere, no flip flops. They had on slides. Like, they come walking in there, whatever, wife beater, walking in there to basically confirm. And there's literally a picture. So I think I took a picture because I thought it was eerie, of like when Triple X looks in their face. Like, who are these guys? So this is like the guy that was walking in, that is the snitch on the stand right now. Well, state's witness. Look, this is both of them. That's right there in the blue jacket is Triple X. That's him about to buy the bike. Look, this is him actually looking at him. If you look in the corner, right there, you can see him looking at the guy coming in, not knowing these guys are setting it up to try to rob you. They go in the back, and when they go in the back to go buy the mask or whatever, so they can go rob people, he's texting them. The guy Allen is texting them in the car, like, yeah, that's Triple X, that's Triple X. So they didn't know he had the 50 grand on him. They didn't know anything. They just know about this big chain he got in the nice car. So they're gonna rob him. So they get the mask on, they go in the car, they basically leave the parking lot, and they lie in wait, because their intent is once he gets in the car, they gonna block him from coming in. So him and the uncle get in the car, they driving out, and when they drive out, when you go to the gate, they cut them off. And when they cut them off, see, this is the picture of them cutting them off. Hopefully y'all can see that. But yeah, this is the picture of them cutting them off. That's the car. They had a journey that they got off of Turo. They cut them off, and then those are the two guys that jumped out the vehicle, the Dodge Journey, to rob him. You can tell from the video that Triple X was fighting them for his stuff. Now, the uncle, it was crazy, because as soon as the two men come to Triple X side of the car, the uncle hits that button for those butterfly doors, and he jumps out, and he's out of here. And I'm like, why did his mama choose you? Because he had on slides. As soon as he didn't even, like, he testified, I think, that somebody came to his side. They never came to his side. He didn't have no, as soon as he saw them pull out that gun, he pressed that button and he was out. Yes, he took off running. He took off running. And then he said, I was running and I was looking back, because he has this real thick accent. So his testimony was very, very difficult to decipher. So he says, I went to call 911, but then somebody says, don't worry about it, I already called them. So he hangs up the phone from calling 911, and he calls his mom and lets him know what happened. But anyway, so today the person, so they had him going through the videos, because they had all the videos. Like, these are just screenshots of the videos that we saw. So they go through all the videos and stuff to that yesterday and today, and him confirming, yeah, that's us. Yeah, that's the band. Because mind you, the two people that were in the car, nobody saw their face. They had on ski masks. They had on all black. They had all that. So they needed somebody to identify. So that's what Allen is doing. So what Allen did was, he said today, apparently, Let me show you guys since you brought it up. So apparently today there was some intimidation between Alan and, let me see, Alan and Trayvon. I think it's Trayvon Newsom. So let me see.
Florida versus 3 co-defendants for the homicide of Jocelyn Floyd.
Yes, I have been assigned with the transport of Mr. Robert Allen.
Have you been with Mr. Allen since, I believe it was Monday, as part of his transport team to assist in getting him here for trial?
Yes.
Okay. Is there an incident that happened today on February 9th that you alerted the state attorney's office to regarding some comments, threats, or however intimidation that was made by one of the co-defendants directed specifically at Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Who was the co-defendant or co-defendants that was involved in this incident?
The co-defendant that we can identify as Mr. Newsom.
Okay. And what is it that, tell us what it is that you notified the state with? What happened?
As directed by Your Honor, Mr. Robert Allen was supposed to come up here first. But as the procedures and normal operations of the jails, they usually pull the court docket kind of early. So unfortunately, the defendants were in the holding area before we could come up here.
And if I just when you say defendants, who were the defendants that were in the holding area?
The only one I know of now is Mr. Newsom.
Okay. So he was in the holding area, and then what happened next?
We notified the Braves that we're coming up with the high profile so they can secure it, lock everybody down. They put these drapes on the windows, try to clear the hallway. As we're making our way over here, what we can hear is Mr. Newsom yell out, there he is working with the police, he's the popo. Also said, you're working with the white man now, and those are the comments.
Now, when you say we, you actually heard the comments coming from Mr. Newsom directed at Mr. Allen?
As I was escorting him over here to court.
Okay. And as Mr. Allen was walking, from as far as you could tell, was there anything obstructing Mr. Allen from being?
So basically, there was a lot of pausing today because typically they try to separate it where I guess Allen, as the state's witness, comes up first and then the defendants come out later. And this time, for some reason, they were late getting Allen up. So that one of the defendants was in a holding cell. So when he saw Allen going by, allegedly, he started yelling, you a snitch, you working for the white man, you working for the popos, all of that or whatnot. So he started yelling that. And I think Allen might have said he said a couple of more things as well. But so it was a back and forth because what the prosecutor is alleging is that they should be able to question Allen about, have you talked to anybody before? Any of these defendants ever contacted you? And that can show that, because of intimidation. And because of that incident, then that would kind of go towards intimidation for the prosecution. But the tricky part with that is you cannot let the jury know of them being incarcerated, being in holding cells. That's why they can't come out with handcuffs. A lot of the media was admonished because they were because they weren't cutting off. Like the judge said, when I say court is adjourned, you guys cut the cameras off, because apparently one of the cameras showed a picture of one of them standing up and they had handcuffs on or something. So they didn't want that out. So those are issues that have gone before the courts that you can't, that's why they come in dressed up in suits and haircuts and all of that, because you don't want to give the perception that they are criminals. Because you see somebody sitting over there in handcuffs or wear a jumpsuit, kind of what you're looking at them as. So the defense didn't want them to be able to question him about that and question Allen about those comments, because he would have to say basically it happened while he was in a holding cell. So they were going back and forth and arguing, and how did Alan even know that it was Newsom that said it? And Alan said, because I knew his shoes, he had on brown shoes, so I knew it was him. And then his attorney was like, you don't even know if he said it or not. Then it was like, we want to see some video. So they were going back and forth about that. So yeah, that is true. It's very, very hard to presume innocence when they are in leg irons and jumpsuits. It is. And that is case law. So Kyrie, hey, what's up, my friend? Why is Drake being made to sit for depositions? So apparently, Triple X said that if he was unalive, then Drake did it in some type. I don't know if it was a song. I don't know if it was on Instagram, but he made that statement. And because of that, what the defense is trying to allege is that it was a tunnel vision investigation. They had their eyes set on one person, or in this case, the 4 people, and they didn't check out anybody else. So allegedly, the mother is supposed to testify, according to defense, that she wanted the uncle to come with him because of these type of incidents that have occurred of people in her son's mind that didn't want him here anymore. But it would make more sense to me if you got real security with real like they weren't armed or anything. Neither one of them were armed. Triple X wasn't armed. The step uncle wasn't armed. Like nobody was even armed. None of it made sense to me. You literally had somebody come with your son who, as soon as somebody said, it's like almost as soon as they pulled up and jumped out the car, he hit that button and he took off. He hit that button and he was out of there. He didn't even try to even like, and then like he was kind of on the stand. The uncle came on first and he was almost saying like, you know, they were asking, did you know if he had a chain? Because I guess he said he heard them say, give me that effing chain, give me that effing chain. And they were like, do you know if he had a chain on or not? I'm not sure. They were pulling on something. Well, you've been around him, so don't you know if he wears an expensive chain or not? I'm not around him like that. So it's like, why would you send somebody? And apparently, I guess he went with him before to go get one of these bikes or something. But it was just really strange to me that out of all the people, because he has money. If you're gonna go and you can just go withdraw 50,000, you probably could have called a security company right there that would have said, "Listen, bro, I got $1,000. I just need you to accompany me here." But the way he fought, like apparently my son was telling me, and I didn't know anything about him, but he was telling me that this young man was like a person that was, I guess, ready to go type of deal. That's kind of like how his rapping was. And he always said if he got robbed, he would fight back. And he was fighting back in that video. It took both of them. Like one of them they both started out on the driver's side. And then, you know, Unc had the door open. So they had easy access to just run around. And one of them jumped in the car and snatched the fanny pack off with the LV fanny pack that had the 50,000 in it, and then they jumped in the car and ran. Yep. So that's part, I think it's a jury instruction about intimidation. So you have a good night, Poetic Mouth. Thank you for hanging out with us. It is 11:15. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this live. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe, please like, and please share. I'm assuming most of you guys in the chat are subscribed because I have subscribers only, because you got to become a part of the family. And you can't just be coming over here lurking. I need you to come and say hello and introduce yourself and all of that. So you can't do that unless you subscribe. You said you were just about to ask about Drake. There's another rapper they mentioned as well. And I said it on the last video, so I don't remember their name. But yeah, I was trying to and thank you guys again for all the cash up. You said he posted his second video. Yeah, I can't do him tonight. Looking at these videos. Oh, he's at church. He doing a special revival. Who am I? I'm in my church preaching by myself.
It's just me and my team in here. Amen. I was on my let me give a word.
So he's in there. He said him and his team, they preaching by them. He preaching by himself. He practicing. But all right, y'all. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'm about to get on off of here. And thank you for my baby for being all quiet while I was on the live. But, as soon as we have breaking news, I'll be back with all the paperwork and all the documentation. Thank you again to everybody that has donated. I appreciate it. Again, subscribe, like, and share. And I'll talk to you next time.